What is going on, YouTube people? Northeast Ohio Cards and Comics here. Today to talk Ultra Modern NBA. It's been a hot minute. Yeah, we do still talk about sports cards on this channel. Yes, we still look at charts and graphs. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz down below. Market Movers link. Let's dive into some data. Today, I wanted to look back at 90 days worth of data. And you'll say, why 90 days worth of data? And that's because 90 days ago puts us a few days before, about a week, not quite a week, before the NBA season started. So it's a nice clean number. I like to do these 30, 60, 90s, etc. And I like to try to time it up to start a little bit before the NBA season. I like to go before the season starts, a few days before. And it just kind of shows you a picture of what is kind of happening since the season actually started. Once performance kicked in, what happened? And as we have found out over the years, 9 times out of 10, once a season starts, cards go down. Expectations meet reality, and they usually don't match up. There will be a few players that were flying under the radar or had low expectations that have good seasons and their prices spike up, and that is the case. However, the amount of players going down is much more drastic than those going up. The ups are nice. There is very few of them. And obviously, this is ignoring any ups or downs that happen necessarily in season. I'm looking at a start point of before the season started and an end point of today. So, but it gives us a good vibe for, what has been going on. So let's go ahead and dive in. I pulled up a bunch of individual players, but from a macro level, most players are down. We kind of know that already. I find it interesting how much they're down, kind of how they started, how quickly they went down. And also, I like to try to look to see if the ones that have gone down, have they leveled off? We're 90 days in now. Some of these guys have been creeping down for the entire 90 days. At some point in time, they are going to hit a bottom. It's just there's a bottom somewhere. Maybe the bottom's $5 and not $500. We don't really know. We're all just guessing here. But first up, one of the guys that just got absolutely hammered, Kevin Porter Jr. And we're going to kind of look at a few different things. I pulled some stuff that went down the most percentage-wise, and also some guys that went down, maybe not necessarily the highest percent off their value, but went down a lot dollar value-wise. So, and then we'll look at some guys that actually went up. KPJ, and I mostly stuck to silver prisms as much as possible. That's still my benchmark. Whether you're buying silver prisms or not, to me, it still kind of gives you a general overall picture of what the day-to-day NBA modern market is doing. KPJ Silver Prism PSA 10, personal favorite of the channel. Bought and sold a lot of KPJ cards over the years. He, at the beginning of the season, was going for around $400 to $475. Today, down to $150. Down 63%, $261. Remember, I sold one of these right before the season started for $400 or $450, I think, $425. To someone on Instagram that actually watches the channel. They wanted it for the Dallas show. I hope he flipped it at the Dallas show. This has obviously cratered, maybe flattening out. We don't really know. KPJ is a wild one, just based off of him essentially quitting the team once and then coming back, and temper tantrums, all sorts of shenanigans with Kevin Porter Jr. He was really talented with the Cavs. He has not necessarily played up to expectations at all. Plus, he's a head case, but just an interesting one there. He was definitely a preseason hype guy of, people, KPJ to the moon. He's going to get all the playing time, this, that, and the other thing. And then once again, those were the expectations. Reality sat in, and next up, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, another hobby darling. One of those guys, we talked about him before. He's one of those guys that's on that list that if they had big games, his prices would go crazy. Had a little cult following going on. NAW. He as well had pretty decent prices at the beginning of the season, and then has fallen quickly. Start of the season, his PSA 10 Silver Prism was $236. It is down 73% to $63. Ouch. That is a beating. Got as low as $50. It's actually slightly on the upswing there. Some of these guys are, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money, but like at $50 for a silver prism, I don't know. If you just got $50 to light on fire, I don't know. I would rather have Nickeil Alexander-Walker for 50 than a KPJ for 150. I'll say that. But that's pure gambling. MPJ. Oh, MPJ. Oh, terrible start to the season. Really wasn't right the entire season. I almost wonder, I have to imagine that he was hurt coming into the season and his back was bothering him. At the beginning of the season, this card was going for $820, his silver PSA 10. It is currently at $191, down 76%. You could see it here, just a nosedive. Once again, played poorly right from the get, then the season-ending surgery, which I think happened right around here. And it's actually looked like it may have bottomed out. I'm not going to throw a whole lot of weight behind one sale here, but for about the last week or so, actually almost 3 weeks, this has been floating around 170, 180 bucks. There's one that went for 167, then it popped back up to 190. Boy, is he risky. There's probably there's going to be a buying opportunity on MPJ somewhere. He has a cult following as well. His stuff will get pumped up before next season starts, most likely, or in the off season or whatever. But back injuries always scare the hell out of me. This is a very risky one. Next up, Jason Tatum. Whew. Now we're getting into the guys that are more established. Those first three were the prospecty guys. Celtics have been up and down all year. They've been a mess. I enjoy watching Bill Simmons tweet about how they're a mess. This is a silver PSA 10 Prism. At the beginning of the season, this was a $2,000 card. Today, it is a $1,000 card. 48% drop in 90 days, down $975. And it, has it leveled out? Let's see. Christmas, it was 1,000. Today, it's 1,000. Had a few little spikes up and down in between. Looks like it, I don't know, basically since mid-December, it has not gone below $1,000. This is interesting to me. Whether it's the 9 or the 10, if you don't have the $1,000 for the 10, maybe look at a 9 or maybe look at some of his other stuff. See if it has flatlined as well. I am still a believer in Tatum long term, but I could be wrong. I have whittled down some of my Tatum. I did move off some of my base, but I still do have my checkerboard. I really like the checkerboard, and I'd be hesitant to move that unless the deal was right, at least at the time being. But it does appear that his silver prism may have flatlined. I know, Dustin and Steve, Personal Finance Dad and Flipping Steve, have been looking at his Optic Hollows, and I believe those have kind of flatlined as well. That was like a $1,000 card in the preseason or right before the season started. It's down to 500, so it's also down like 50%. So I know those two have been talking up that card quite a bit. So, has the Tatum market reached the bottom? Time will tell. That team does look messy, though. It's the only thing that scares me a little bit. They could shake it up with a move at the trade deadline. Kevin Durant tops Chrome. This one really, I don't know, it doesn't perplex me really. The entire market's been down. But before the season started, his base tops Chrome was almost $5,000. It is currently $3,500, down 26%. And that is with a recent upswing on this last sale to bump it to $3,500. If it wasn't for that, last sale before that was $2,800. So I am curious here. Auction. It was an auction. Let's look, shall we? Just to see if there's any shenanigans. Nah, that looks legit. Okay. We'll take that at face value. That looks remotely legit. So let's just call it what it is, what Market Mover says, 3.5K. Still down 26%. He's in the finalist for an NBA MVP. He's played fantastically this year. This card's a really tough grade, only popped 990. The interesting thing was his refractor is also down, but not as much. It's down like $1,000, but on that card, it's like less than 10%. So I didn't pull it because of that, whereas this one was down 20 or 30%. So KD continues to get busted up a little bit. I feel like I'm going to miss the window on this. I keep talking about this card in a PSA 9, and I keep not pulling the trigger on it because other stuff gets in the way. We'll see what happens with that one. But he's an interesting one to be dipping even that much. Oh, Zion Silver Prism. The Zion Silver Prism. What are your numbers? Beginning of the season, $3,000. Currently, $1,700, down 44%. The baffling one here, maybe this needs to be its own video sometime next week. Why is Zion still selling for more than Ja Morant? Could someone please explain this to me? In the comments down below, Could someone please explain to me why a Zion Silver Prism is selling for $300, $200 to $300 more than a Morant Silver Prism? We'll talk about Ja in a second, but what are we doing? Zion's probably not going to play this year. Ja is playing out of his mind. He's had highlight reel after highlight reel literally every single game. They just beat the Warriors in an absolutely amazing game. Yeah, he has a little bit of injury concerns. He scares me a little bit, but guess what? He has less injury concerns than Zion does. Has Zion reached the bottom? I think until we get the next news bit. It looks like this card's basically been sitting at the high 16s for a while. We see it here at 1650, a little spike up, back down to 1650, little spike up, back down to 1650, right there, back up, back down, back up, back down, back up. We're at 1700 right now. Prior sale of this was 1640. Let's just call it 1675. Seems to be about the floor, 1650-ish. Doesn't seem to want to go below that price. My guess is this holds steady until the next update. We are probably due for a Zion update here any day, probably next week. I think they said 2 or 3 weeks, and I feel like that was a week or so ago. The last thing that we got is he basically pieced out of New Orleans and went to Portland to train at Nike, or to rehab at Nike. Not a great look. Doesn't ensue a lot of confidence in the Pelicans training staff, in my opinion. I'm sure they're not happy about that, but Nike pays them more than the Pelicans do, so he's going to go to Oregon. But this card does seem to have flatlined for the time being, but we have seen this before. If you back up a little bit in November, it flatlined for a decent portion of November. More bad news came out, and then back down the steps we go. It has flattened out again, but once again, I'm very curious to see if the next news is more of, we'll reevaluate you in 2 to 3 more weeks or another month or whatever. Does it take another little bit of a hit? But once again, someone please explain to me why this is selling for more than the Ja. I believe Ja base has actually passed Zion. I'd have to double check that one, but I thought I saw some stuff on social the other day that the Zion Prism base is now selling for under the Ja Morant base. So that's intriguing there. Either the Zion's priced too high or the Ja is priced too low, or a little bit of both. Luka. Oh, my boy Luka. What a disaster. PSA 10 silver, and I pulled his optic holo just because I talk about it so much. Both basically down the same. The silver down 55%, the optic holo down 48%. The silver went from $6,300 to $2,800. The holo went from 4.6K to 2.4K. Both brutal. And Luka actually still slowly trending down. There is some interesting things here. If I was going to air quotes buy the dip on someone, he is one that I would definitely be looking at. It wouldn't take much for him to just catch on fire. Or if the Mavericks shake up the team at the trade deadline, if they bring someone in, I would think on name value alone, you'd get a little bit of pop on this. But I could also see the other side. Hey, they're probably not going to go deep into the playoffs. Let's just wait for the summer and see if he dips right after they get eliminated. If they even make the playoffs, they should, but maybe they make the play-in game and get bounced or something weird happens. This Luka season's just been an absolute nightmare. He's putting up okay numbers, but he's not putting up Luka numbers. Plus the weight narrative stuff. He's been nicked up pretty much all season with these little odds and ends of injuries, plus COVID protocols. I mean, the whole league's been in COVID protocols, but man, I just think he is so talented, and I still believe in the player, and I still believe in Cuban not wasting Luka's talent and doing something to shake up that roster. So I'm definitely intrigued by jumping back into Luka. I have moved off of 2 of my Luka Optic Holo 9s. I traded one way back in the fall for a LeBron paper tops and some cash. And then I sold the other one right before Christmas, or like the week of Christmas, to buy Black Panther Fantastic 452. I sold that to buy that. I have one left. I'm like dead even on that card right now at current prices. And then I still have a Luka Mosaic, and I have some other odds and ends of things, but those are probably my 2 highest end Luka cards right now. The silver and optic holo and PSA 10. It's also interesting how close these cards trend together price-wise all of a sudden. The optic holo PSA 10 to me is the intriguing one, but once again, I'm a sucker for optic. The pop count on this at 287. One day, my optic lords and saviors will overtake the Prism. Next up, LeBron Topps Chrome PSA 10. The iconic Topps Chrome base LeBron card. Back in October, this was going for $16K right before the season started. It is currently going for 11.1, a 30% hit down 5K. This card does appear to have baseline, though. Since basically Thanksgiving, this card's been around $11,000. You can see here on 1127, 11.5, and then that line basically, with other than that one spike there and a couple little spikes there, it's been right around 11K, 11.5, 11K ish, maybe very, very slightly trending down, very, very slightly. Like if I ran this from, let's go from 1127 Thanksgiving. See what it looks like. Yeah, only a 3% change since Thanksgiving. So it's been flat for almost 2 full months. Is this the bottom on this card? Once again, we don't really know, but he has been playing fantastically since they moved him to center. They've been experimenting with him at center, and he's playing out of his mind. At his age, it's insane what he's doing. I'm still obviously a believer in LeBron stuff long term. I have a lot of LeBron stuff. Nothing super, super high end, but I still think LeBron's a buy, the right card at the right price. Next up, Trae Young, silver PSA 10. The Hawks have had a very weird season, very up and down. Trae's actually played pretty okay. The team as a whole has not. Trae still sucks on defense, but he does carry the team offensively. PSA 10 prior to the season started $1,650, currently under $1,000, $985, and on the decline. Got these little ups, downs all around. Currently trending down. Last one was under $1,000. We'll see where the next one goes after that. Is that the floor? Seems like every time it gets below 1,000, someone spikes it back up again. So we'll see what happens with that. But definitely a hard downward swing there. I still have a couple Trae silver PSA 9s. I still have my Optic Hollow PSA 10, and I still have my red Mosaics. I actually probably have more Trae Young than anything else on the ultra modern side of things. Let's actually, before we talk about players actually going up, of those guys we ran through, and more so on the star side of things, and I probably could have included like Donovan Mitchell. I didn't want to make this a 45-minute long video. Who are you most intrigued by on the going down section? Is there someone there that you're like, you know what? That feels too cheap. I'm going to go, maybe not necessarily the Prism Silver, but just in general. Maybe you're going to look at an Optic Hollow 9. Maybe you're going to look at a select court side, whatever. Is there a player here that's dipping that you're like, not so fast, my friends? That's getting the Spicy Town population me. In time to potentially pull the trigger on some stuff. Curious for your thoughts on that. I have a couple that I'm interested in. Next up, one's going up. Who actually went up this year? Spoilers, not a lot. I just pulled the biggest name or the biggest jumps that had in price, and I'll move through these pretty quickly. Miles Bridges, obviously, not surprising. He had an absolutely insane season. He is up 44%. Started the season at 208 and currently at 300, but look at the in-between. This card got well over $500 for multiple sales and then very quickly has come back down. He's still playing pretty good. So you're still up if you held this card through. But as we say in most things in the sports card world, when you see things like this happen, you should be selling because they let you buy him back here. If you were lucky enough to buy Miles in the preseason, you could have sold him anywhere in here and then bought him back right now if you still believe in the player long term. Continuing on here. Next up, Anthony Simmons. I always get questions about him, and I always kind of poo-pooed him, so I guess I missed the boat on this one. My general take always was on him is that he had, especially going into this season, he's had so many opportunities over the years and just not done anything with it, but I mean, he is still pretty young. But I got to admit, I was wrong. He's been playing pretty good this year, especially most of it lately. But his PSA 10 Prism Silver prior to the season starting was around $100. It has doubled in price to a little over 200. Up 118%. Once again, that's really gone on a run this last couple weeks because he's really turned it on since the beginning of the new year. With Dame having an abdominal injury, he's been playing but not playing great. CJ's been in and out of the lineup. Simmons has gotten a lot more playing time and he has capitalized on it. It would be interesting what his stuff would do if Lillard and or McCollum got officially moved. I still don't think that's going to happen, but it would be interesting if they literally just handed him the keys and said, it is your job officially now. You're not the fill-in for when one of these two is hurt. But he's been playing really, really good. So we'll see where his stuff goes from here. But once again, I poo-pooed him at the beginning of the season. I remember getting questions about him and being like, not for me. But someone hopefully did okay on that one. And then my man, Darius Garland. PSA 10 Silver Prism. Pretty much everything Garland is up. Up 20% on the year from 280 to 340 currently. And actually started the season, actually dipped a little bit, got down to around the high 100s, very low 2s and since then has obviously been on a steady climb on up. He's playing absolutely fantastic. I remember having lots of arguments in live streams and in chat and on videos about Garland and Sexton. There's really two camps when it comes to the Cavs. Not even if you're a Cavs fan, just outside looking in. There's the people that really like Sexton, and then there's the smart people that really like Garland. Just kidding. Sexton, he's fine. He is a one-trick pony. He is an advanced Lou Williams. Garland is actually a legit, really good NBA point guard, and you could see that in his play. Even when Sexton was healthy, he was playing more of just a scorer role, less of a playmaker, if you will, distributor. He was playing much more like a Lou Williams style of game, which is fine. And I would desperately take Colin Sexton back right now as a Cavs fan. But Garland stuff continues to go up. I actually think, and I'm going to, whatever, let me get the pump out. Pump and dump. Garland stuff to me still seems kind of cheap given how well he's played and how well the Cavs have played. But I am 100% biased in that take. I only own 2 Garland cards. I own a Blue Velocity and I own a Fast Break numbered that I picked up about a month or so ago. But I would actually like to get more. I still feel like he is a little undervalued. He's playing absolutely fantastic. And that team looks really good for the long term. Garland, Mobley, and Allen are going to be together for a while. Mix in a little Okoro, plus whatever else they end up doing. That team's going to be feisty for a while. They kind of remind me, and someone made this comparison on Dunked On today, maybe, Dunked On podcast, that the Cavs are kind of like the Grizzlies of the East. The Grizzlies are further along, and Ja Morant's obviously a way better player. But similar styles. They're both kind of grit and grind, defensive-oriented, bunch of young players, kind of both outperforming expectations. So I can kind of see that comparison. Next up, not surprising, Steph Curry. This is his PSA 10 tops. I could have picked any Curry card in existence, and it would be way up. But only up 12%, which I actually find kind of interesting. But that is $1,400 on this card because this is a pricey one. I don't see this card dropping back down anytime soon. Steph's playing out of his mind and is also a finalist for MVP. He's been playing absolutely fantastic. Had a little bit of a lull recently. I think he kind of hit a wall, but they got Clay back now, and Clay looked fantastic. He decimated the Cavs on Sunday, and I wonder if that rejuves Steph a little bit and also takes a lot of the pressure off, and if we see another Steph Curry explosion in our near future in regards to on-court play. And then last but not least, Ja is not way up or way down. He's just kind of in the middle. I just wanted to talk about him because he's been playing absolutely fantastic. He's slightly down since the season started. So the interesting thing about him was he was pretty stable prior to the season started. He came out like gangbusters. His stuff spiked up, chilled off a little bit. Then he got hurt and it took a nosedive. He came back, played okay, got hurt again, and then has been insane since then. He had a dip here, obviously one really low sale here, but you do have 3 sales right well under current market. His stuff for $1,400. I'm going to circle back to the question I asked in the middle of the video. Why the hell is Ja Morant Silver Prism cheaper than Zion Silver Prism? Someone please explain that to me. Please. Because it doesn't make any sense. Ja looks absolutely insane. To me, he has been one of the funnest players to watch in the entire league this season. I kind of want to buy more, but I feel like I'm buying while he's hot. But I'm also biased because I really like the player. I was digging into some Ja stuff today. Might pull the trigger on something. Don't know. But he's just playing great. He's playing absolutely fantastic. The Grizzlies are on fire right now and poised to potentially make a deep playoff run. I am excited to see Ja Morant playoff basketball in my life again. So that's all I have for you guys and girls today. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know. Are you buying the NBA market on the dip? We're down a lot. Are you buying? Are we still wait and seeing? Are we still going, not yet? Or are we diving back in? Or are we just dipping our toe in? Just kind of feeling it out a little bit. Let me know in the comments down below. Catch you guys and girls in the next one. Peace.